So I am Sarah Muerane. I am a partner in the dispute resolution department.
My name is Shane Krieger. I'm a director in the commercial department of Worksmans and I work in the Cape Town office, as you can see.
My name is Teboho Spidla. I am a director at Worksmans. I'm in the Johannesburg office.
My main practice areas are administrative law. In fact, that is my main practice area. I do a lot of admin law work. I do some construction litigation and just general commercial litigation. And that's what I do. I'm also a member of the Professional Staff Committee, which is tasked with looking after the professional development and well-being of non-partner professionals, and in particular candidate attorneys coming into the firm.
I specialize in media communications and technology.
So a lot of the work that I do involves either litigating on behalf of regulatory bodies or on behalf of clients that are acting against regulatory bodies. Usually it's procurement related litigation, so where a tender has gone wrong or a party believes that they ought to have been awarded a tender but they weren't. So that's generally the sort of stuff that I do quite a lot of in my practice.
I work in the investment funds sector, so we are involved with investments coming in and out of South Africa and structuring those and agreeing terms with the investors on the one hand, and then also on the other hand representing the investment managers who are managing other people's money.
My practice generally revolves around the regulatory framework for media communications and telecommunications. And what I do daily is to advise clients on the impact that any changes in the regulatory have on their businesses, and also advise on how they can mitigate against the risks that arise from those developments. Worksmans looks for candidate attorneys who are hardworking, who are hungry for knowledge, eager to learn, and who are not afraid to be themselves.
We want to see that they have the legal knowledge, so we ask legal questions and we'll expect decent answers. That doesn't mean we expect you to get every single thing right in a question, but we want to see that you are able to, when you don't know what the answer is, that you're able to tell us where you would find the answer.
Generally, what we're looking for is for somebody who is motivated, somebody who's a self-starter, somebody who's willing to learn, because your entire 2 years of doing articles is about absorbing as much as you can from this environment so that you can be prepared for actual practice. And so you need to have somebody who, with an open mind, who's willing to learn, who's teachable, most importantly.
Yeah, we're not looking just for someone who has the academics and who has the technical knowledge. We want people who are well-rounded and are interesting people to be around, and I think you'll see that in the people who work here. And
who comes to work every day with an attitude that says that I can, and if I can't, I can ask for help. And that's sort of the culture that we want to create within the firm for candidate attorneys.
I mean, we have biker dudes and we have surfers and we have all kinds of crazy people working here. And you know, to pretend that everyone is just a cardboard cutout is not realistic. So we're interested to hear about that as well in interviews, and to get a sense that you're the kind of person who will go for coffee with, you know, enjoy the time working with during your time at Worksmans.
During an interview, what makes a student stand out is their confidence, authenticity and honesty, you know, just us getting a feel of who you really are.
Look, we accept the fact that when you come into an interview, it's a high-pressured situation for the candidate. A lot of the time, it's usually their first time that they've ever done an interview. Answer the questions honestly. Take time to stop and think about your answer. That's okay. We don't mind you doing that. And answer honestly But be aware of the fact that obviously you are in an interview. It is a performance. So you have to bring it. If you come in and you are stuttering and your answers are not well thought out and you're not making sense, that's gonna reflect negatively. So take a moment, breathe, think about the answers. We want well-reasoned, well-considered answers when we ask questions. And relax.
When you come to Worksmans as a candidate attorney, you can expect to work hard. You can expect to learn from the experts in the various practice areas. And you can expect to get a full view of how to run a practice, not only from the perspective of the law, but from the perspective of logistics and administration.
Candidate attorneys in the 2-year CA program can expect to work a lot. It's a lot of, so in your first year as a candidate attorney, you are in the litigation department. So that's going to involve a lot of, unfortunately, graft work, so service and filing and photocopying. But it's also, depending on the practice that you are in, there's a lot of opinion work that you do in the litigation department, a lot of research, that sort of thing. Depending again on where you are, you might get an opportunity to draft pleadings. So basically what the program is to actually prepare you for practice, for running your own practice, because unfortunately university doesn't prepare you for that. And that is the whole point then of the CA program, is to introduce you to practice and to prepare you for the rest of your career in the profession. So that's the sort of the stuff that you can expect.
So I think one thing that candidate attorneys don't really understand is that university is just the basic gate to get into the profession, but that you haven't really started learning until you start your articles. And so we try to foster an environment in which you can learn, in which you can make mistakes, in which you can develop the judgment that's required to be a lawyer at a later stage. So we don't expect you to know everything coming out of the gates, but we expect to see a commitment to learning, and we expect to see you develop the judgment to know when you don't know. We understand that you're going to make mistakes, and we try to create an environment in which you can make mistakes without putting the firm at risk. Obviously, not throwing your hands up every single time there's a problem and saying, I don't know, but knowing where that line is when it's time to say, I need help.
So tips for candidate attorneys. Number one, I would say, get out of your own mind. Don't ever walk into any situation saying that there's something that is below you or beneath you. There isn't anything that is beneath you, don't do that. Also, time management. Learn how to manage your time now whilst you're in varsity already. You'll find during the time that you're doing your articles that there's a lot of times when you are working for more than one person, where this person wants something and that person wants something, and you need to learn how to prioritize tasks and your time. And be teachable. That's something that is so important that I think that a lot of students don't really think about. When you walk into this environment, you must know that even the second year CAs who are only a year ahead of you know a hang of a lot more than you do. So open your mind and be teachable, and that will take you a long, long, long way in your career.
If you're a law student and you'd like to become a successful commercial attorney, you should prepare yourself to work hard, push yourself beyond your limits, hit the ground running. So some of what helped me was being flexible, understanding that sometimes work will take over your life, but there'll be times when you're able to live and you can take a break from work.
I remember when I first arrived at Worksmans for my first day of articles, I was asked to paginate a file. And I was looking around, I was like, oh, so how do I even spell paginate so that I can go and Google what these people actually want me to be doing right now? So you must, I mean, simple things like that where you think you know, but you actually really, really don't. And so you have to come into this environment knowing that you don't know anything and being willing and prepared to learn, because the 2 years of articles really just are about that. It's about learning and preparing you for practice.
Building relationships with not only your colleagues but with your clients, understanding that even though you're providing a service to corporates, that your key contacts are human beings, and you need to build those interpersonal relationships with those people. Be ready to switch it at any time. Anything can happen when you're a lawyer, and you have to be ready to provide advice, sometimes urgent advice at very short notice.
I think law students need to realize that a lot of what we do in our work is communicating. And we're writing letters, we are sending emails, a lot of it is written, and that's a skill that you can work on right now. Reading is the best way to prepare to write well. And a lot of our candidate attorneys these days don't seem to read as much as they used to in the past, so I always encourage people to read and then to focus on writing, so that when you're communicating with the clients, you write something that is interesting to read and understandable. And then the other thing is rigor. That is very important. And I always say to our candidate attorneys, if you went to Porsche and you bought a Porsche for R1 million, and it came with a scratch on the side of it, you wouldn't accept the argument if the salesman came and he said, yeah, but it's like one little scratch. And the same applies if you send out a legal opinion. Sometimes it has cost R1 million for the work that's gone into the legal opinion. Sometimes it might actually only be a 10-page document, but it's taken 6 months to prepare. If there's now a comma in the wrong place, it could have an impact on the meaning, for one thing. I mean, the car could break down if it doesn't have a part in the right place. But even if it doesn't affect the actual advice that you're giving, it still doesn't look good. It's like having the scratch on the side of a car. And what your client will say is, well, if you got the comma wrong, or if you spelt my name incorrectly, what else have you got wrong? And so that practice of making sure that you get everything absolutely correct, you can do now in your essays that you're sending in. Make sure that there are never any punctuation mistakes or spelling mistakes, and develop that technique of editing and re-editing and checking your work. So apart from being a lawyer, I do a bunch of other things. I do competitive windsurfing in Cape Town. Actually managed to finish 3rd in the country last year.
So I have a passion for eventing. It's the most random thing. I love, if you want to walk to the shops, call me, I'll plan that for you.
Travel. I love traveling. Cooking and hosting events. I do that a lot.
Yeah, and I like to potato. I like to sit on the couch and potato. That's it. I event, I read, I come to work, and I potato.
And everything science fiction. Books, movies, anything science fiction.
And I do a lot of mountain biking, hiking, some photography in my spare time as well. Try to do as many different things as possible to make sure I get some time away from work and recharge so that I'm fresh when I come back.